Listen carefully, these aren't just words, they're a lifeline, a declaration, a call to arms. You've been sitting in silence for too long, haven't you? Holding back words that could shake mountains, hiding the fire that could turn the darkest night to day. But let me tell you something about silence. It's a misunderstood force. They think your silence means surrender, but it's not. It's strategy. It's strength. It's the calm before the storm. Right now you might feel invisible, like the world has forgotten you. They overlooked you because you didn't shout, because you didn't fight back on their terms. They labeled you as weak because you chose restraint. But they've made a fatal mistake. They underestimated the power of a quiet mind, a steady heart, a soul that listens and observes before it strikes. They don't know yet, but they will. End of preface. Because silence is not the absence of power. No, it's the gathering of it. Every second you held your tongue when they mocked you, every time you walked away when they tried to provoke you, every moment you chose to sit still and let them think they won, you were building something unstoppable. A tidal wave doesn't announce its arrival. It builds silently beneath the surface until it's too late for anyone to run. Resistance is the coolest expression of humanity. There's a gallop of people, 2 feet from God, and you're in their way. This is your tidal wave, and I know what you're thinking. Why me? Why now? Let me answer that for you. Because now is all you've got. Tomorrow is a promise, but today is a chance. A chance to take all the anger, all the pain, all the frustration, and turn it into something that no one can ignore. You've been walking around with chains that weren't even locked, waiting for someone else to come and set you free. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. No one's coming. No savior, no rescue. But that's not bad news. That's power. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone to save you is the moment you realize you've had the key all along. The question isn't whether you have what it takes. The question is whether you're ready to unleash it. Let me paint you a picture of your silence. Imagine a forest right after a storm. The air is heavy, electric, and still. Everything is drenched, motionless, holding its breath. You're that forest. The storm is your past, everything you've endured, everything that tried to break you. And now, in this moment of quiet, something is stirring. You can feel it, can't you? That hume beneath your skin, the restless energy inside you waiting to erupt. But here's the thing about moments like this, they don't last forever. You can't stay on the edge forever. At some point you have to decide, are you going to let the silence be the end of your story? Or are you going to use it to ignite the beginning of something extraordinary? I'm not here to sugarcoat your pain or tell you it was fair. It wasn't. They underestimated you because they couldn't see past your quiet strength. They mistook your patience for weakness. But their underestimation isn't your punishment. It's your greatest advantage. Let them think you're small. Let them believe you're nothing. Because when you rise, they'll never see it coming. There's an urgency here. Time doesn't wait for anyone, least of all for those who hesitate. Every day you spend in silence, waiting for the perfect moment, is a day they win. And you can't afford that anymore. You've been giving away too much power, power that belongs to you. It's time to take it back. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting. Stop doubting. Stop letting them define you. Today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today is the day you decide who you are. Not the broken version of you they tried to leave behind, but the unstoppable force you've always been underneath. They underestimated your silence, but now it's time for them to fear your power. You've carried the silence like a second skin, haven't you? It clings to you, wrapping around every word you wanted to say but didn't. Every moment you could have stood tall but stayed small. Your silence has been your armor and your burden. It protected you, yes, but it also kept you hidden. And there's a certain agony in that, being unseen. It's like standing in a room full of people, screaming at the top of your lungs, only for the world to look right through you. You've been dismissed, overlooked, and ignored. People walked past you like you were part of the scenery, like you were some distant whisper in a world full of noise. They thought your silence meant you were weak, that you had nothing to say, nothing to offer. But they didn't understand, did they? They didn't see that your silence was the stillness before a hurricane. They didn't notice how you were watching, waiting, building yourself, piece by piece. And yet, their words cut deep, words like daggers that lodged themselves into your heart. They told you that you weren't enough, that you'd never be enough. They questioned your worth with every condescending glance, every dismissive comment. And you started to believe them. Let's talk about that pain, that deep, unshakable ache of being underestimated. It's the kind of pain that doesn't just bruise, it leaves scars. It's the loneliness of carrying a story that no one bothers to read, the rejection that echoes louder than any applause could. You've tried to explain it to yourself, to make sense of why you were always the one left behind, why they never saw what you were capable of. It's like trying to scream underwater. No one hears you, and you're left suffocating on your own silence. The isolation becomes a cage, doesn't it? A prison built from doubts and fears. You tell yourself it's safer this way, safer to stay silent, safer to blend in, safer to avoid the fight, but deep down, you know the truth. You know that every moment you stay quiet, the cage tightens. And then, there's the villain in your story. Let's name it, shall we? Maybe it's the people who doubted you, the ones who told you that you were too small, too quiet, too unworthy. Maybe it's the societal expectations that shoved you into a box, told you to play nice, to not make waves, to keep your head down. Or maybe, just maybe, the villain has been staring back at you in the mirror this whole time. Because sometimes, the harshest voice isn't the one from outside, it's the one inside your own mind. It whispers to you in the dead of night, telling you that they're right, that you're nothing, that you'll never rise above this. It's relentless, isn't it, that voice? It knows exactly where to strike, exactly which wounds to press on. But let me tell you something about villains. They only win if you let them. The people who doubted you, they're not omnipotent. Their words only have the power you give them. The societal expectations, they're just rules written by people who were too afraid to break the mold themselves. And that voice in your head, it's loud, yes, but it's not the truth. It's a shadow, a ghost of your fear. And shadows only exist when there's light. So here you are, standing at the edge of this silence, carrying the weight of every rejection, every moment of loneliness, every ounce of doubt. But I need you to hear this. Your silence is not the end of your story. It's the stillness before your transformation. It's the cocoon that holds the butterfly, the quiet that comes before the roar. They thought your silence meant you were broken, but they don't know what it means to be forged in fire. They don't understand that the quiet ones are the most dangerous, because while the world is busy underestimating them, they're busy becoming unstoppable. Let them think you're invisible. Let them dismiss you. Because when you finally step forward, when you finally rise, they won't know what hit them. And the best part? Your silence will become your weapon. It will speak louder than their doubts, cut deeper than their words. Because your silence wasn't weakness. It was power, biding its time. They didn't see you coming, but they will. Oh, they will. So there's a weight to staying silent, isn't there? It's the kind of weight that seeps into your bones, making every step feel heavier, every breath feel harder. And you tell yourself it's easier this way, easier to keep your head down, to avoid the confrontation, to let the world pass you by. But deep down, you know the truth. This silence, this refusal to rise, is slowly breaking you. Let's not sugarcoat it. Staying silent has a cost, and it's steep. Every day you hold yourself back, you lose a piece of yourself. The dreams you once had, the ones that lit up your nights and gave meaning to your days, they start to fade. You push them into a corner of your mind, convincing yourself that they were foolish, unattainable. And with every dream you bury, you lose a little more light. Imagine this life, stretched out before you. A life where nothing changes. A life where you stay in the same place, trapped by the same doubts, haunted by the same fears. Imagine this life. Imagine this world. It's like being stuck in quicksand. Every effort to escape feels futile, so you stop trying altogether. You settle. And the worst part? The world around you keeps moving, leaving you behind. The silence you've clung to feels safe, but safety comes at a price. It isolates you. It turns your life into a shadow of what it could be. A hollow, stagnant existence where nothing grows. There's no joy, no fulfillment, just a numb kind of existence. Is this what you want? Is this what you fought through so much pain to reach? And then there's the battle raging inside you. You want to break free, don't you? You want to speak up, to fight back, to finally claim what's yours. But every time you try, fear stops you in your tracks. It whispers in your ear, reminding you of all the times you've failed, all the times you've fallen short. It asks you questions you don't know how to answer. What if you fail again? What if you're not enough? What if you're not enough? It scares you. Desperation is the illness of the abundant. Who told you that doing is hard? Who told you that doing is... What if they're right about you? And so you hesitate. You convince yourself that staying silent is better than risking failure, better than proving the doubts right. But that hesitation doesn't bring peace. It brings regret. It leaves you lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering what could have been if you'd just tried. This is the cost of staying silent, the slow erosion of who you are, the slow death of who you were meant to be. Let me take you deeper into this despair. Imagine waking up every day and feeling nothing. No excitement, no purpose, just the dull ache of another day spent hiding from the world. You see others around you living, thriving, chasing their dreams, and it's like you're watching from behind a glass wall. You can see it, but you can't touch it. The silence that once felt like protection now feels like a cage. And you start to wonder if this is it, if this is all life will ever be. The thought terrifies you, doesn't it? The idea that you'll reach the end of your life and realize you never truly lived. But let's be honest, it's not just the fear of failure holding you back. It's the pain of every rejection, every moment of humiliation. Every time someone told you that you weren't enough, that pain sits in your chest like a stone, heavy and immovable. It clouds your mind, making it impossible to see a way forward. You start to believe that maybe they were right, maybe you are broken, maybe you'll never rise above this. And in those moments of hopelessness, the silence feels permanent, like a part of you now. But I need you to listen closely to me now. This is not the end. I know it feels like you're drowning, like the weight of your silence will pull you under. I know the darkness feels endless, the pain unrelenting, but let me tell you something about the darkness. It's not as powerful as it seems. Because even in the darkest night, there's a flicker of light, a spark. And that spark is you. Yes, you. The same you who's been doubting, hesitating, breaking under the weight of your silence. That spark is still inside you, waiting to ignite. But here's the thing about sparks. They don't grow on their own. They need fuel. They need air. And most importantly, they need you to stop smothering them. So I'm going to ask you again, is this what you want? Do you want to spend the rest of your life hiding behind your silence, watching the world pass you by? Do you want to let the doubts, the fears, the pain define you? Or do you want more? Because there is more. There's a life waiting for you. A life filled with purpose, passion, and power. But you'll never reach it if you stay silent. You'll never reach it if you let the despair consume you. This is your lowest point. This is the moment where you have to decide. Do you let the weight of your silence break you? Or do you take that spark inside you and turn it into a fire? The choice is yours. But know this, no one else can make that choice for you. No one else can pull you out of this despair. The power has always been in your hands. And the moment you realize that is the moment everything changes. So go ahead, feel the weight of your silence. Feel the depth of your despair. Let it wash over you, and then, when you're ready, when you're tired of living in the shadows, rise. Because even the deepest darkness can't extinguish the light that's inside you. Let me tell you a truth that you might have forgotten in the haze of doubt and despair. Your silence wasn't weakness. No, it was something far more profound. It was preparation. Every moment you held back, every word you swallowed, every tear you let fall in solitude, it wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your transformation. Think of a bowstring being pulled back. The tension builds. The string strains, and for a moment, it seems as though it might snap. You've been forged in the fires of rejection, doubt, and isolation. Do you know what that means? It means you're no longer fragile. You're no longer breakable. Every scar you carry is proof that you endured, proof that you faced what was meant to destroy you and survived. Your scars aren't signs of weakness. They're armor. They're lessons written on your skin and in your soul. Each one has taught you something, how to endure pain, how to navigate despair, how to stand back up when the world knocks you down. You've been tempered like steel in a furnace, and now you're sharper, stronger, and ready to cut through anything that stands in your way. Let me reframe your story for you, because the way you've been telling it to yourself isn't the truth. They don't define you. Your past doesn't define you. Only you define you. Let those words sink in for a moment. Only you define you. Not the people who doubted you, not the voices that told you to stay small, not the fear that whispered lies in your ear. None of that holds the pen to your story. You do. And the story isn't over. In fact, the most powerful chapters are yet to be written. You see, this is the part where you take back the power you've been giving away. You've been handing it over to others for too long. Every time you believed their doubts, every time you let fear control you, you gave away a little piece of yourself. But no more. This is your moment to reclaim everything that's been stolen from you. To stand up and say, this is my life, my story, my power. Because power isn't something they give you, it's something you take. And here's the truth, you've always had it. It's been there, buried beneath the weight of your silence, waiting for you to uncover it. Now's the time to dig deep, to find that spark inside you and let it ignite into a fire. And when you do, they'll see the strength in your eyes, the fire in your soul, and they'll realize they were wrong. They underestimated you because they couldn't see past your silence. But now that silence is breaking, and what's emerging is something they could never have prepared for. Repeat after me, they don't define me. My past doesn't define me, only I define me. Say it until you believe it. Say it until it becomes your truth. Because that's what empowerment is. It's rewriting the narrative, reclaiming the story, and refusing to let anyone else decide who you are. Think of your pain as a seed. It's been buried in the darkness, surrounded by dirt, but that's exactly where growth begins. The struggle you've endured, the pressure you've faced, it wasn't meant to bury you, it was meant to plant you. And now you're breaking through the surface, reaching for the light. Every struggle has prepared you for this moment. Every rejection has made you stronger. Every tear you cried has watered the soil of your soul, and now it's time to bloom. And you're not the same person you were before. You're stronger, wiser, fiercer, and the best part, you did this, no one else. You picked yourself up, you faced the darkness, and now you're stepping into the light. So take a deep breath. Feel the strength in your chest, the fire in your heart. Know that this is your time. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Reclaim your story, reclaim your power, and let the world see what they underestimated, because this is only the beginning. The rise of your power is just getting started. There's a moment when everything becomes clear, when the noise in your head quiets and the fog lifts, and you see yourself for who you really are. Not the person they tried to define, not the shadow of your pain, but the powerful being you were always meant to be. That moment, it's here. It's now. Take a breath. Feel it. The weight you've been carrying for so long, that heaviness in your chest, the burden of silence, of doubt, of fear. It's been holding you down, hasn't it? Chaining you to the ground, convincing you that this is all there is. But here's the truth. Those chains, they were never unbreakable. Close your eyes and imagine them now, rusted and weak, ready to shatter. Because that's what happens when you finally see yourself clearly. The chains don't break because someone else comes to rescue you. They break because you realize you've had the strength to snap them all along. You're not powerless. You never were. You just didn't see it before. Your silence wasn't a prison. It was the cocoon. The darkness you've been living in wasn't the end. It was the womb of your rebirth. And now you're ready to emerge. You're ready to rise. Picture it. The darkness begins to crack, light streaming through the gaps. At first it's blinding, overwhelming, but then you step forward and the light doesn't burn. It warms. It fills you. It shows you the path ahead. Your light becomes more than just a necessary light. This is your awakening. The moment you look back at everything you've endured and see it for what it truly was. Preparation. Every rejection, every moment of loneliness, every time someone underestimated you, it wasn't a sign of your weakness. It was a test of your resilience, and you passed. But the story doesn't end here. There's still one thing left to do. It's time to face the villain. You know who they are. Maybe it's the people who doubted you, the ones who belittled you, dismissed you, made you feel small. Or maybe it's the fear inside you, the voice that whispered lies in the dark, the shadow that kept you from stepping into the light. Turn and face them now. Look them in the eye. And when you do, you'll see the truth. They were never as powerful as they seemed. Their words, their doubts, their judgments. They were smoke and mirrors, designed to keep you from seeing your strength, the smoke that saves you from bettering yourself. And what matters most to you will be past smoke. But now the illusion is shattered. Now you know who you are. You're not the person they tried to break. You're the person who rose from the ashes, stronger and fiercer than they ever imagined. Feel the power surging through you now. Feel the fire in your chest, the clarity in your mind, the strength in your soul. This is who you are. This is who you've always been. And now that you know, let me ask you this. What will you do with this power? How will you use this? Will you let it fizzle out, or will you let it consume everything that tried to hold you back? Will you rise quietly, or will you let the world hear your roar? This is your moment of transformation. Your moment to take everything you've learned, everything you've endured, and use it to create something extraordinary. The chains are broken, the darkness is behind you, the light is ahead, and it's calling your name. So answer it. Step forward. Claim the life that's waiting for you. Because they underestimated you, didn't they? They thought your silence meant you were weak. They thought your pain would break you. They thought your fear would keep you small. But now they see the truth. They see the fire in your eyes, the strength in your stance, the unshakable power in your voice. And they're afraid, not because you're loud or aggressive or overwhelming, but because you're unshakable, because you've risen from the ashes of everything they tried to destroy, because you're proof that silence isn't weakness, it's preparation. So what's next for you? That's the beauty of it. The choice is yours. You've been given this power, this clarity, this fire. What will you build with it? Who will you become? Because this isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of the chapter where you write the rules, where you decide the outcome. So go ahead, face the villain, break the chains, step into the light. They underestimated your silence. Now they fear your power. This is the moment you've been waiting for, the moment you decide, the moment you stop hesitating and start rising. Because knowing your power isn't enough. Real strength isn't in the realization, it's in the action. And now, it's time to act. No more waiting, no more hiding, no more telling yourself one day or when I'm ready. You're ready now. You've always been ready. You've just been too afraid to see it. But fear has no place here anymore. The chains are gone. The path is clear. Now, you have to take the first step. I'm not asking you to change everything overnight. Transformation doesn't happen in an instant. It happens with one decision, followed by another, and another. Hero hasn't forgotten. So here's your first step. Rise. Rise above the pain, rise above the doubts, rise above the voices that told you that you weren't enough. And how do you rise? You start by setting boundaries. Stop giving your time, energy, and heart to people who don't deserve it. Stop letting their opinions define your worth. This is your life. Start protecting it like it's sacred, because it is. Next, pursue your goals. Not the ones they told you to chase, but the ones that make your heart race. The dreams you buried because you thought they were too big or too impossible. Dig them up, dust them off, and go after them like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. And finally, confront your fears. They're not as powerful as you think they are. Fear is like a shadow. It only grows when you turn away from the light. Face it head on and you'll see it for what it really is, an illusion. The things you've been afraid of, they're not walls, they're doors. And you have the key. But it's not just about rising above the pain. It's about reframing it. Let me ask you something. What if everything you've been through wasn't a setback, but a setup? What if every heartbreak, every failure, every moment of despair was preparing you for this exact moment? Think of your life as a mosaic. Those broken pieces you've been carrying around, the shattered dreams, the painful memories, the scars, they're not useless. They're the building blocks of something beautiful. You just have to step back and see the bigger picture. Or imagine your gold, forged in fire. The heat you endured, the pressure you survived, it wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to refine you, to shape you into something stronger, something unbreakable. Your pain wasn't meaningless, it was transformative. And now, you have a choice. You can let that pain define you, or you can let it drive you. You can let it hold you back, or you can use it to propel yourself forward. Find, because that's what power really is. Turning your struggles into fuel, your scars into armor, your silence into strength. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just survive, thrive. Don't just exist, live. Live boldly, live unapologetically. Live in a way that makes the world take notice. And when they ask you how you did it, how you rose from the ashes, how you turned your silence into power, you'll simply smile. Because they'll never truly understand what it took. They weren't there in the darkness with you. They didn't feel the weight of your silence or the fire of your transformation. But you know what it feels like to carry the weight of rejection, only to rise above it. You know what it feels like to be underestimated, only to prove them wrong. You know what it feels like to take your broken pieces and turn them into something extraordinary. And now, it's time for the world to know, too. Say it with me. They underestimated my silence. They never saw my power. Now, they'll never forget it. Say it again and again. Say it until it becomes your truth. Say it until it's etched into your soul. Because this is your truth. You were never weak. You were never powerless. You were simply waiting, preparing, building, and now you're unstoppable. So rise. Rise with the strength of everything you've endured. Rise with the fire of everything you've overcome. Rise with the knowledge that you are not defined by your past. You are defined by the future you're creating. And let them watch. Let them see the power they tried to ignore. Let them feel the force of everything they underestimated. Because now, you're not just rising, soaring. And Matthew landeth a Bluck sharp. They underestimated your silence. They never saw your power. Now they'll never forget it. Go, show them, and never look back. This is your moment to pause, to breathe, to look back at the road you've traveled and recognize just how far you've come. Transformation isn't just about moving forward. It's about understanding the journey that got you here and owning every step of it. Let's reflect together. I want you to think about your silence, not as a weakness, not as a regret, but as part of your story. Ask yourself, why did you stay silent? What were you protecting? What did your silence teach you about yourself, about the world? When you look at the moments you felt most invisible, what strength was quietly growing inside you? Now think about your pain. It's not easy to revisit those wounds, but you need to, because pain doesn't just leave scars, it leaves lessons. What did your pain show you about your resilience? How did it shape you into the person you are now? If you could speak to the version of yourself that felt most broken, what would you say to them? Take a moment to reflect on your newfound strength. Feel it in your chest, in your mind, in your soul. This strength didn't come from nowhere. It's the result of every struggle, every battle, every choice to keep going when it felt impossible. Ask yourself, what does this strength mean to you? How will you use it moving forward? If you want to grow strong, the soft pudding sticks on pizza and the kokolirl. Is this your home? What kind of life do you want to create with the power you now hold? Empowerment tools. Reflection is powerful, but action sustains transformation. You've lit the fire, Now you need to keep it burning. Here are some practical tools to help you stay on this path of empowerment. Write down your thoughts, your struggles, your victories. Make it a habit to document your journey. Use your journal to capture moments of gratitude, affirmations, and lessons learned from challenges. Daily affirmations. Start each day with affirmations that ground you in your power. Say them out loud with conviction. I am strong, I am resilient, I am unstoppable. My past does not define me, my power does. I am building a life I am proud of. Building community. Seek out people who uplift and inspire you. Surround yourself with those who believe in your vision and challenge you to grow. Let go of toxic relationships that drain your energy or pull you back into old patterns. That's my bullshit. Reclaiming your voice. Practice speaking up. Start small. Share your thoughts in safe spaces. Express your boundaries. Assert your needs. Over time, you'll find your voice growing stronger and more confident. Set intentions and goals. Define what success looks like for you, not for anyone else, for you. Break your goals into actionable steps and celebrate each milestone along the way. Now, as you move forward, let's look at the bigger picture. This journey isn't just about overcoming, it's about creating. You're not just surviving anymore, you're thriving. Remember this. Every struggle, every scar, every setback has prepared you for this moment. You've become the kind of person who doesn't just rise, you inspire others to rise with you. Your story is no longer a tale of silence and pain. It's a testament to resilience and transformation. Feel that fire inside you. It's not going anywhere. It's yours to keep, to nurture, to wield. Say it with me one last time. They underestimated my silence. They never saw my power. Now, they'll never forget it. Now take that power and go build something extraordinary, because the world hasn't seen the best of you yet. It's just getting started. This is your legacy. Own it, live it, and let it shine.